The victims' accounts are hair-raising. In the green landscapes of the English countryside, a particular story has been repeated time and again. A group of local Muslims, mostly of Pakistani descent, often born in Britain, kidnapped girls and young women, got them drunk in pubs, drugged them, and then took them to their homes. There, the girls were repeatedly gang-raped. Thousands of girls, and these were young girls, 10, 11, 12 years old, were raped, sexually abused, often in a cruel way, gang-raped in a really horrible, disgusting way by Pakistanis, who are often formerly British citizens. When the victims went to the police refused or delayed taking action because the perpetrators had not been identified. Victims were often accused of indecent behavior. A common characteristic of the victims was their working-class background. Their parents were poor, uneducated, and white. In the eyes of the police, they were guilty of Islamophobia. There was no punishment for the Pakistani pedophiles. Rochdale grooming gang leader still lives alongside victims despite deportation order. Nearly 9 years later, Qari Abdul Rauf remains in Rochdale, where his victims are forced to live alongside him. Cases like these did come to court from time to time, but with shockingly light sentences, with the courts working to excuse both the perpetrators and the sluggishness of the police, who deliberately delayed investigations. The perpetrators swiftly ended up back on the same streets as their victims. The Daily Telegraph tells the story of Qari Abdul Rauf, now 54. In the town of Rochdale, he and 8 other Pakistani men raped 47 girls under the age of 12. The court sentenced Rauf to 6 years in prison. He served 2. He was stripped of his British citizenship, but refused to accept a Pakistani passport. He eventually ignored the deportation order and, for at least the past year, has lived in his home as a stateless person. Schoolgirls from a local elementary school walk by his windows every day. Not all cultures are equal. Importing hundreds of thousands of people from alien cultures who possess medieval attitudes towards women brought us here. And after 30 years of this disastrous experiment, we now have entrenched sectarian voting blocs that make it electoral suicide for some MPs to confront this. For decades, some of the most vulnerable people in society have been betrayed by people in positions of power. Never again can political correctness be allowed to get in the way of justice. The case is gaining momentum as Britons ask how it is possible that, over the years, law enforcement has been more interested in downplaying these crimes and preserving political correctness than protecting the victims. Elon Musk is bringing this issue to the forefront on his social media website. He has accused, among others, Jess Phillips, Parliamentary Undersecretary of State for Safeguarding and Violence Against Women and Girls, of being complicit. Labour has a dark history of turning a blind eye to grooming scandals. From Rotterdam to Rochdale to Telford, Labour-run councils and police forces ignored or suppressed abuse allegations to avoid upsetting, quote, community cohesion. Vulnerable girls paid the price, enduring unspeakable horrors, while Labour politicians prioritized their reputation and voter base. In Rotterdam, victims were doused in petrol, brutally raped, and silenced with threats, while Labour councillors silenced whistleblowers and downplayed abuse to avoid being labelled racist. In Telford, over 1,000 girls were abused, with police and councils turning a blind eye to avoid accusations of racism. In Oldham, as in other towns, Labour leaders failed to act on abuse warnings, fearing backlash from their multicultural voter base. By blocking a full inquiry, Labour isn't just avoiding accountability, it's abandoning survivors all over again. If they have nothing to hide, why are they so terrified of the truth? Prime Minister Keir Starmer felt that he had to respond. He said that these attacks on him are based on lies and misinformation. The British Prime Minister stated that he has full confidence in Jess Phillips. Starmer attacked Elon Musk and declared that all those who do not like the conduct of the British authorities are extreme right-wingers. Elon Musk, probably jokingly, made a poll on X on whether or not the United States should free Britain from its despotic government. Most answered, yes.